Before I get started with this last video in this series, 10 awesome unexpected things about being Catholic, I want to take a second and say thank you to my Patreon subscribers. It blows my mind that you guys would support somebody like me by sending me money to help me make these videos. And I wish I had all this extra stuff I could send to you or gifts or whatever. But the truth is, this is all I can do is to make these videos right now. So I just want to say thanks. You really are helping me. I've got a lot of things I'm trying to do, and your support helps me. If you want to support, patreon.com/Keith Nestor. That's not a big deal to me as far as like making people do that or like, please do it. I don't want to be that guy. But I just want to say thanks for those of you that are doing that. So let's dig into our last video in our series, 10 Unexpected Awesome Things About Being Catholic. And the video that I want to close with today is what I wanted to say is what I think is the secret weapon of Roman Catholicism, okay? And it's this, the Easter Vigil. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, that's not a secret, Keith. We all have been to the Easter Vigil. Let me tell you why I think it's a secret weapon. Of course, Easter has always been a big part of my life. You know, growing up as a pastor's kid and then being in ministry for 22 years, Easter was what we would refer to in our church as the Superbowl of Sundays. You know, it was the day, the second of the two big days that people who don't normally come to church would show up. Of course, the first one being Christmas. So that's where you get the idea of Creaster. What's a Creaster? A person who goes to church only on Christmas and Easter. Now, I know that Creasters exist in the Catholic Church too. But for us, that's what we experienced. So when it came to Easter Sunday, we'd set up extra chairs in the sanctuary, and we would make sure that we were going to do something really special for Easter, because this was, our shot to appeal to these people who probably weren't going to be there much else during the year. So we'd have like tons of different things. First of all, there would always be like an extra service, a sunrise service or something, and then there'd be maybe a concert or a play. I've seen full-scale productions and different things, and we would have special music and egg casserole and maybe an Easter egg hunt for the kids outside. All these different things to try to make it more exciting and make people, fired up. And hopefully that would translate to them saying, hey, I think I'll come to church here, more often. Well, when I became a Catholic, I didn't really know if Easter was going to be any different than any other Mass, because typically Masses are the same, the liturgy is the same. Well, when we first went, so I've been Catholic now as for 2 Easters, I've been a part of that. And we went to the Easter Vigil the first year, and I'm telling you what, it was like a nuclear bomb went off in my brain when it came to liturgy. I was blown away by what happened. I didn't have a lot of expectation, but as I began to look at the missal and see what was happening, I was thinking, man, this is either going to be really, really boring because it's so long, or it's going to be absolutely amazing. And I'm here to tell you, it was and is amazing. When the Easter Vigil begins, there's this, this fire that's lit up in the back of the church. And I remember looking back there going, what is going on? And the priest was back there and the deacon, all these people, and it was lit up. And they lit this fire, and then this voice began to sing from the choir loft. And this woman's beautiful voice began to just work through this, what's called in the Missal as the Easter Proclamation. And it was absolutely incredible. And it tells the story of the redemption of the world, starting with the very creation, all the way up through the coming of Jesus and then into his resurrection, and how this is the night that all of this is celebrated. It was absolutely amazing. And about maybe a minute into that, I no longer cared how long the service was going to be. I wasn't worked up about looking and go, oh my goodness, there's 7 readings in the Liturgy of the Word. How long is this going to take? I didn't care. I was so brought into that moment. And then, of course, there's these candles that are put aside, and then there's all of these different readings from Genesis. There's a long reading, and then we go into a psalm, and we're singing about the glory of God together, and then, of course, another reading from the book of Genesis, and then a reading from the book of Exodus, and it's basically walking us through the entire story, not just of Jesus rising from the dead, but the reason why Jesus rose from the dead. And not just the reason why Jesus rose from the dead, but the reason why he came in the first place, to save us, to redeem us. And this moment, this is the highest moment in our calendar year, the moment we celebrate what makes Christianity unique, what makes Jesus who he was and is, the risen Son of God, our Savior. I've never seen it or experienced it celebrated quite like this before. We move through the readings, and it brings us to this moment of conclusion as we sing these psalms and move into what's next is the baptismal liturgy, because Easter has always been, for the church, the time when this was when the catechumens now were baptized, when people would come into the church. And so I saw, as we brought forth these candidates to be received into the Catholic Church, and they would be baptized, it was powerful. And then you think, oh, wait, there's a lot going on. Do we want to stick a baptism in the middle of this? Because, where I came from, whenever we had to do a baptism, that meant we had to take something else out of the service. So we would try to not put baptisms whenever we had, communion or something special. So, but for the Easter Vigil, this is almost like the point, right? This is the time when we celebrate these people and bring them into the church. And then, of course, we invoke the saints through the litany of the saints, which in and of itself is absolutely beautiful as part of this. And then the baptism begins, and people are received into the church. And in this same way that Christ's resurrection is celebrated, this new life of these people being brought into church, their baptism celebrates their new life as well. What an amazing time to do a baptism. It makes me feel like that's the only time we should do it. Now, I'm glad that it's not, but how appropriate. And then, of course, the liturgy of the Eucharist, which is what every Mass, has as its the core moment of it. But for me, this experience solidified everything I'd been feeling and thinking about why I wanted to become Catholic. And it was powerful. And it makes me think sometimes that, for as many times I've heard people say things like, oh, the Catholic Church isn't biblical, or, the Catholics don't care about Jesus, or what, it's just insane. I defy anyone who thinks that way, attend an Easter Vigil. And then you tell me if the Catholic Church isn't the most biblical, Christ-centered church that the world's ever seen. There's no comparison. So for me, that's been the secret weapon, and I love it so much. Well, that part of it dovetails into the 10th thing that I want to share in this list of top 10 unexpected things, awesome things about being Catholic, which is liturgical worship. Because the Easter Mass, the Vigil, is obviously follows the liturgy, as does every Mass. And I remember in my past feeling like, oh, liturgy, that's so boring. I mean, what dull and lifeless experience would this be to have everything prescribed out and laid out for you in terms of what you're going to do? And I used to think that would be just awful. But now I've realized that it's awesome. And the reason why it's awesome is because we no longer have to get caught up in what some people or person is trying to do in order to excite us or make what we're doing relevant and awesome. We have this liturgy that is classic and timeless and so well thought out, and it's something that we can count on. I can count on the fact that whenever I go to Mass, anywhere in the world, no matter what I'm going through or how I feel or what's in my mind, I can count on the fact that the liturgy is going to guide me into what the church has decided for that particular day is where I need to be focused. I don't have to think about, am I going to hear a sermon series about whatever movie is relevant today, or how, some book out there is popular, so a church is going to try to incorporate that to make the culture go, ooh, wow, aren't they so, clever and cool? In Catholicism, we don't worry about what the world's doing. We have the liturgy that's guided by the church, and it's centered around the liturgical year and the readings and the prayers that are meant to invoke within us the thoughts and the call to holiness for each particular week. And to me, that's been absolutely amazing. You guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video series through 10 awesome, unexpected things about being Catholic. if it's meant something to you, I would ask you to share it, let people see it, and I would love to hear from you in the comments. Maybe some things for you that were unexpected but awesome about being Catholic. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me through this series. Lots of great stuff is coming your way on my channel, and I really appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. Again, I don't want to be the commercial guy, but I really want you guys to make sure that you see this content if it's helpful to you. So I appreciate that, and I want to thank you guys once again. God bless you.